Hi everybody, this is Cory, Carrie's husband. Carrie's been after me for a while to do a video, especially before and after, at least since I hit 125 pounds. I've been resisting, partially because I thought it was more her than you guys, but she's recently shown me quite a few comments asking for my take on Weight Watchers, on weight loss, and just some info on my journey so far, so here I am. Okay, so I guess start at the beginning. Carrie joined Weight Watchers back in September of 2016. Every now and then after she joined, she would tell me how much she would like it if I could go with her, and I really wasn't into it. I don't know, part of me thought it was going to be something like an AA meeting or something you'd see on TV. And after the first meeting or two, it was clear it's nothing like that. Your first meeting doesn't start with you in front of the group saying, "Hi, my name is Cory and I'm fat." And another thing, there were more men there than I expected there to be. And when she first was telling me, I wanted me to go, she said, there's another guy in our meetings. And then by the time I finally joined her, there were a few. Two things marked the turning point of me joining and attending meetings with Carrie. The first was she stayed on the plan for at least a good 5 months and lost 60 pounds. Both of those were things she'd never done before on any kind of weight loss plan. She'd never stuck with any plan before for more than a couple months. I don't think she's ever lost more than 30, maybe 40 pounds. And no knock against Carrie, because I can't say that I did any better. But this time it was clear she was serious, she was determined, she was going to do it, she was going to keep with it. And that helped me make the decision to go with it too. A second thing is I'd been eating Weight Watchers dinners for 5 months. I agreed when she first joined that I wasn't going to go, but I definitely wouldn't be a roadblock for her. And I'd eat whatever she made for dinner, maybe a little larger portions, but I wouldn't ask her to make 2 dinners or steak and potatoes while she was eating something else. And as anybody who's watched Carrie's channel knows, she's a really good cook. And honestly, Weight Watchers foods are just foods, and there's nothing that you can't have. And with some planning, you can have some really good meals. And then I wasn't worried about points, so I was certainly getting more than enough food for dinners. When it actually came time to possibly join, I wasn't worried about what am I going to be able to eat. And I didn't have this kind of silly notion of all salads and kale for meals and tofu. In fact, I'm not sure we've actually had a single dish with tofu since I joined, or since she joined. Maybe 1 or 2, tops. So any guys out there watching this that haven't joined Weight Watchers or are holding off because you're picturing tofu and salads, that shouldn't be a problem. So I joined on the 20th of February, and then the rest is history. Actually, as anybody who is a Weight Watchers member and attends meetings know, one of the first things that they have you do is write out your why. In the little weight tracking booklet, there's a spot where you're supposed to put your why, and there's a space for a sentence or two. My why was a lot more complex than that, or a lot more involved. So instead of writing out a 1 or 2 sentence why, I sent an email to our leader with my full why. I'm going to share a little of it with you, and maybe it'll give you an idea of why I've been able to continue so far, why I've been successful. I have a lot of motivation too. One thing that you'll see when I go through these is nowhere on my entire list is a weight. I never joined Weight Watchers to lose weight. I joined it to become more healthy. Now, a necessary part of me being healthy was losing a lot of weight. At 355, 365, you can only stay healthy so long. That excess weight can really cause major problems eventually. If it's not causing health problems now, it's a matter of time. If you're younger and you're overweight, take care of it, because you don't want to wait until your knees start to give out, and you don't want to wait until diabetes kicks in or some of these other diseases, because although some of them can be treated or reversed through proper diet and exercise, not all of them can, and not all of them can be reversed all the time. So do yourself a favor and make a change now. So my first item was, I want to live for a while. I was seriously worried about my health. Like I said, I was pretty healthy. However, according to my wife, I had sleep apnea and stopped breathing in the middle of the night. I don't know how I slept through that. But one thing I do know is at times I'd lay down to go to sleep. I could really feel my heart beating in my chest, enough that it was concerning at times. Had some tightness in my chest. It wasn't difficult to breathe, but it wasn't as easy as it should be. And I was getting a little worried that one day I might not wake up. But the bottom line is, we had, at that time, 2 beautiful grandchildren, and I wanted to meet all of them that we have yet to come. I'd love to meet a couple of great-grandchildren at least. I'd like to see my youngest son graduate high school, meet somebody, get married, meet his kids. I'm not ready to call it quits. I'm not even 50 yet, and I'm nowhere near ready to just be bedridden and gone. So number one is, I didn't want to die from being overweight. Being overweight is a really stupid reason to die. I also wanted a healthier immune system, just be healthier in general. And if something came up that I needed surgery for, you have a lot better chance going through surgery without complications if you're not 150 or more pounds overweight. I want to sleep better. That kind of goes back to what I was saying before, the sleep apnea thing. The truth is, I probably have been sleeping slightly fewer hours a night than I used to, but I'm feeling much more rested the next day. Another section in my list is just about general fitness. I want to get out and do stuff. I want to spend time with my wife and my youngest son, ideally with some of my other kids and definitely my grandkids. I want to be able to get out and do stuff. I want to be able to get on the floor with my grandkids and play for an hour or two and not be exhausted. I wanted to be able to get out on rural trails and roads around here. And I live in a beautiful section of the state with a lot of rural areas, a lot of trees and forests, and it gets even more wooded as you go north. I wanted to be able to get out and enjoy some of that. I could have before, but not too far into a walk through the woods, I'd have been paying more attention to how tired and sore I was than to the things around me. And frankly, it would have been too long and I'd have been ready to head back to the car. Another one of my whys is I want to be able to bike the entire Mountain Bay Trail. It's about 83 miles. It's certainly a doable thing, 2 or 3 day bike trip. There's no way I was going to do that at 360 pounds. At my work, the side employee entrance goes into the stairwell, and it's a flight and a half of stairs up to the floor where I work. I would get to work, go in that side door, climb that 1.5 flights, not run it, just go up it, and then I'd have to stop outside the door for several seconds, catch my breath, compose myself, and then go through. That was one of the things that let me know I was not fit. Just a flight and a half of stairs, climbing them at just a slow trudging pace shouldn't make me so out of breath that I have to stop and catch my breath before I go in. When I went and visited my sister a few months before I joined Weight Watchers, we spent quite a bit of time out and hiking and walking. At least it seemed like a lot of time at that time. It probably wasn't all that much. But we spent quite a bit of time out, and I know that a good part of the time we were out and seeing the countryside and the sights in California, she was slowing down just to keep my pace. I really wanted to be able to visit her again and be able to walk at her pace and not make her walk at mine. I don't want to miss out. If there's something going on with friends or coworkers or family, some kind of event, and it's going to be physical or hot out or require climbing or anything really active, there was a time when I'd have to think about it. And there were definitely events and activities I missed out on. I mean, if we had an event and they had laser tag there, I would have joined in. And I don't want to miss out on those kind of things. I wanted to be able to participate and not have to stop and sit and catch my breath or rest for a bit. There's a whole bunch of things that if you've never been in the 300 plus range, you might not realize. But if you are 300, 350 or more, I bet you know exactly what I'm talking about with some of these. I wanted to be able to go to a restaurant that had booths and not have to ask for a table. At 355, I couldn't always get into a booth. I know Subway, they had pretty small booths. At least they seemed small at the time. I'd be right, at best, I'd be wedged in. And at worst, I couldn't even fit. Another thing that us bigger guys are probably aware of is sitting at a picnic table. When you sit at most picnic tables, you don't sit facing the table, you sit facing the same way as the bench. But you sit straddling the bench so that you can fit. And do you know how many outdoor chairs have a weight limit that's over 300 pounds? Not many, even few over 350. So I couldn't even count on being able to sit on a chair unless I read the tag first. Last thing I want to do is go visit somebody, sit in one of their chairs, and have the thing break. And anybody that's overweight and has gone to a theme park, if you're brave enough to get on all the rides, you've undoubtedly ran into a ride that the harness doesn't fit, or the bar doesn't come down, or even if it does, if you're on there with your kid, it doesn't come down enough to be safe for them and fit you. That's something that I wanted to get out of my life. I wanted to be able to go on rides with my son, and I wanted to be able to do other kind of, I want to be able to go on a ski lift or whatever and not have to worry about size. If you're big enough, you know that all seatbelts are made the same. I was getting pretty close to the max size for my seatbelt in my car, and I've been in cars where I just made it. So it was to the point I would be a bit nervous getting in somebody's car for the first time because I didn't want to get in there and then not be able to get the seatbelt on. If you're bigger and you've flown in an airplane, you know what I'm about to say next. Before the flight, when the flight attendant does that demo of how to buckle and unbuckle a seatbelt, that thing they're doing it with isn't a demo belt. That's a seatbelt extender. It lets you plug in between the two ends of the real seatbelt and be able to fit somebody that's bigger. So not only does somebody who's big have to worry about just getting the seatbelt on, assuming even if you have the seatbelt extender, trying to get your hand down and plug the thing in still isn't simple. And then you've got the inevitable poor person that has to sit next to you, and either you have to spend the entire flight like this, or they do, or you have to lean away or whatever. Regardless, none of it's comfortable, and I'm glad those days are over. Another thing is when you're in your car and you drop something on the floor, you got to pull over to pick it up, because you need to open the door, put one foot out, and then you can reach down and get it. Another thing that's a pain is finding clothes. I've never been a huge fashion person. To be honest, it matters to Cory how my clothes look far more than it matters to me, but they need to at least fit. So I had to do a lot of my shopping, the majority of my shopping, pants, shirts, belts, at a large and tall store. So you have a limited variety, and the nearest one is a couple hours away from here. And it's just kind of a pain all around. Another thing that someone who isn't as overweight as I was probably never thinks about is keeping your belly covered. I had to worry about making sure I could tuck my shirts in and that they'd stay tucked in if I stood up straight when I was walking, or worse, I had to lift my arms up because it takes a lot more material to reach down around your belly and be tucked in your pants securely. Right. So that was my long, drawn-out why. The good news is a lot of those things are history now. Things have changed a lot in 130 pounds. I'm sleeping much better. I feel a lot better. We're getting out and walking on trails, Ice Age Trail, the Mountain Bay Trail, our road here. We're seeing a lot of wildlife. We're seeing the countryside. We're looking forward to going to Disney World because we're not worried about how exhausting and hot it's going to be walking around in November. And now at work, I can run up those steps. I really book up the steps, and I don't have to stop at all going in. In fact, we have another building that's 8 stories tall, and we have several floors on it. And when I have to go to a meeting over there, if I have time, I take the stairs, even up to the 7th, 8th floor. And when I go up to the 7th or 8th floor, I can get to the 3rd or 4th at a pretty good clip, and then I slow down to a normal pace going the rest. And I do have to stop and catch my breath before I go through the door on the 7th floor or the 8th floor, but not for very long. And probably less time than it used to be after just a floor and a half back when I was heavier. I still want to bike the Mountain Bay Trail, but now I want to hike it too. I've actually gotten 20 miles out of the 83 miles already hiked. I don't know the last time that I worried about if I can do some physical activity, or if I'm going to fit in something. If I don't have to worry about the seatbelt extender on a plane. I don't have to worry about a seatbelt in a car. I don't have to worry about getting in a booth because I can fit in, the booths I used to think were super small. Now there's plenty of room for me. So I've lost enough now that size and just weight isn't really a concern anymore. Now it's really just about health, which is a great change. And as far as being able to pick up an item on the car floor, I've been able to do that for quite a while. And I just realized exactly a week ago, I can actually tie my shoes while I'm still sitting in the car. That was pretty awesome. I haven't had to go to Big and Tall Shop for months. I'm down from 4X and 5X shirts to 1X. I'm down from kind of a tight 48 pants to 36 pants. It's all regular store, department store bought along the same lines. I can wear regular shirts and tuck them in and never feel like they're about to come untucked, which means I can stand up straight walking around work instead of being hunched over. So that's really nice. One common question I get is, have I tried other diets before? Yeah, we've tried really low fat. We've tried low carb, low sugar, tried calorie counting, which was horrible, especially the tools that were available at the time. It was a lot of work, way too much work. But the best I've ever done was drop from about 360 to 312, which, don't get me wrong, is great, but it didn't last, and it was only a temporary fix. but I've never joined Weight Watchers before. And the reason I did this time is, or one of the reasons, is the fact that sugars are way more expensive on this plan than they used to be. They cost more points. Soda jumped way up from, I think, 3 to 9. I wasn't drinking soda, so it didn't matter, but I really believe that simple sugars are really not good for you. So a plan that cuts those out and those kind of empty calories and steers you away from that stuff, that seems like a good idea to me. And like I said, I was eating all these foods. Carrie's making some great food. And for the first time I thought, you know, I could probably eat this way for life. I could eat these foods. I could do this as far as the food goes. And she explained a little bit about how the points worked and all that. I didn't know how many points I'd have, but how bad could it be? And so after I joined, I think I started with like 63 points. You don't burn through 63 points really quick if you're not eating pizza and eating out and stuff. And we weren't doing that because Carrie was already making healthy foods. I don't drink soda. I haven't drank soda for years. So I typically had 10 or 11 points left. Almost had to gorge myself at night to get all the way down to the points I was supposed to be at. And finally, my leader said, well, don't eat just to get the points. If you're not hungry, don't eat, as long as you're truly not hungry. And I wasn't. So I think if you're eating the right foods, this plan is pretty easy. If you're still eating a lot of pizza and brats, love brats, still have brat every now and then, but if you're gonna want to have 2 or 3 brats and you want to have burgers and you want to have a lot of chips and you want to have pizza and you want to have a lot of these less healthy foods, it gets a lot harder. We're not eating much of that, so it's been fairly easy to stick with the plan. And with the foods we're eating right now, I really do feel like I could keep eating this way with some indulgences here and there, and with some foods that we've adapted to be a little healthier, a little more Smart Point friendly. So I'm confident that I can keep doing this. And with that big list of whys, it's a lot easier. You know, I have a lot of motivation to stick with this. With the successes we've had so far as being able to get out and do things and, you know, fit in booths and, you know, reach the floor in the car, that also is a big driver to keep going, because we don't want to give those gains up now. You know, I said before, this has never been about weight for me. By necessity, I've got to lose the weight to be healthy, but it's always been about health. So if the scale doesn't move or goes up, as long as I'm feeling healthier, able to be active, still making progress over time, then I'm fine with it. It's hard to be motivated by a number, and that's why they ask you what your why is. You need to decide what's important to you, what's the reason. You know, your why is not, I want to get down to 180 pounds. Why do you want to get to 180 pounds? And I just went through my list. So my health and all those other things, the chance to be active, to do things with my family, to have a full active life, that's my why. And that's why I've been able to be persistent with this. You don't have to succeed every single day. You don't have to be perfect every single week. You can make mistakes. You just have to keep going, and you have to keep trying. Okay, here's the reality. It's not going to be a fast process. It'll go faster for some than for others, but it's going to take time. You put that weight on over years, you're not going to take it off in 6 months, especially if you have a lot. So that's something that I accepted pretty early on, that this was going to be a long process. Now, I've lost 130 pounds and it's been 15 months, but I'm okay if it doesn't keep going that pace. And as long as I am losing more often than I'm gaining, or having larger losses more often than I'm having no losses, eventually I'll get to where I want to go. So, this whole process has been completely easy without any challenges the whole time. No, of course it hasn't. We've had challenges. I've had challenges. I've gone out and just completely blew my points and weeklies plus another, almost another set of weeklies. And I've paid for it at times. At other times, I got back the next day, treated it as a brand new day. Didn't worry about what had happened the night before, other than to be maybe a little more vigilant on my tracking for that day or the next several days till weigh-in. Also went through a period where I had a little bit of diet fatigue. I guess we're a bit in a rut, not a lot of variety. I think we were probably a month or two in, and it just felt like we're having the same few foods or same few ingredients, just made different ways. And I mean, chicken's good now, but I don't know how many meals straight I want chicken breast. We needed to find some variety, some different seasonings. That was a big deal. We've really learned, Cory and I both have really learned much more about using seasonings and herbs and spices to flavor our foods. The standard American diet has a lot of sugar, a lot of fat, and a lot of salt. And if you're going to cut good portions of those three ingredients out, you have to put other things in there to flavor it. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I had to share about what's different before compared to now and what I've been doing along the way. I'll leave one last thing is recently in the meetings, there was a push to have everybody work on their summer goals. Mine was easy because my summer goal was the same goal I've had since February of this year, and that is to get more activity in every month compared to the same month in 2017. So I've been using the Fitbit, been looking at steps, at miles walked, at minutes of activity, and comparing them to what was on my app a year ago. I hope this has been interesting. And for everybody that commented asking that I do a video, I hope you liked it. And who knows, maybe I'll do another one, and maybe I won't wait another 15 months. Talk to you later.
Hey, do you remember 20-something years ago? Those cold nights in December and the sound of the falling snow, the fireplace warming us, the VHS movie box, your old broke down touring bus, and not a single cloud in the sky.